Hi, I'm Phil Lipoff. We are following breaking news at this hour. The jury in the trial of Daniel Penny says they are unable to come to a verdict on one of the charges. Penny is charged with manslaughter and negligent homicide in the subway chokehold death of Jordan Neely in New York City. Now, jurors say they cannot reach a decision on that top count, the manslaughter charge. Neely was acting erratically on the subway when Penny put him in a chokehold that eventually led to his death. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky joins me now from outside the courthouse, and ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer joins me for more as well. Aaron, let's start with you. What's the jury saying about why they can't come to a decision?
Well, they haven't said why, but they say they were unable to reach a verdict on count one, which is manslaughter in the death of Jordan Neely. And the judge has just decided that he is going to call the jury back in and tell them to keep deliberating, what's known as an Allen charge, charging the jury with continuing their deliberations. Prosecutors had made a pitch for this because the way the case was charged by the judge initially, Phil, the jury could not move on to consider the lesser charge of negligent homicide until they had a resolution on manslaughter. And prosecutors said it would be crazy to declare a mistrial without them having moving on to that lesser charge. So he's going to tell the jury to keep going, and we'll see what happens.
All right, and Brian, this, I'm guessing, is not unusual in a case when there's more than one charge, but how difficult is this specific case?
Yeah, it's not unusual, as you say, when it comes to cases that there are multiple charges. A jury may feel not guilty on one, guilty on the other, or as Aaron pointed out, they maybe haven't even got to the second charges either. But I think in a case like this, that it's so polarized, we are asking people to come to a consensus on, was Daniel Penny correct in putting Jordan Neely in a headlock, and did it go for too long? I know there are a number of arguments out there as to whether or not Jordan Neely was still breathing after Daniel Penny had released that chokehold, or whether or not there's even enough pressure on his neck. So I think the jury is kind of struggling with that in the same way that kind of social media and the court of public opinion is as well.
So, Aaron, what happens now?
So I'm just getting notes from a little spy in the courtroom. The Allen charge is over. The judge has delivered the charge to the jury, telling them to keep deliberating and try to reach a consensus. And the jury has just gone out to resume deliberations. They've been at it, Phil, for about 20 hours now, and they've asked for video. They've asked to hear some of the testimony. They've asked repeatedly for the judge's instructions on the law. So they really do seem to be getting into, you know, the weeds of the case and wrestling with what is a rather complicated question. Was Daniel Penny reckless? And was he justified? And they wanted to know the definition of justification. When can you use force, even deadly force, and when does it cross the line? And that's what they're going to continue to wrestle with now on this Friday afternoon.
And Brian, just a final question to you. Now that Aaron has said, you know, we have a producer in the courtroom sending us out messages, and that is the Allen charge is there. They're going to go back and attempt this, but Aaron points out 20 hours already. They can't come to an agreement on that first charge. They're going to go back and look at criminally negligent homicide. The jury, 7 women, 5 men, 4 people of color. I was sitting next to, yesterday in court, a retired judge who said, in his estimation, this jury is taking this very seriously. How much longer, in your estimation, in your experience, do you see a jury going after they can't agree on one charge?
So I think the colloquial term, or just kind of like the idea amongst defense attorneys and prosecutors, is Fridays, especially Friday afternoons, are a perfect time for a verdict. And after an Allen charge has been read, if the jury comes back one more time and says, we are deadlocked, we can't come to a consensus, any language of that nature, I would expect the defense attorney to be jumping up and down, probably feeling like they're in a really good place, and say, Judge, we'll take it. Let's go. Because if Daniel Penny is found not guilty, or there's a hung jury on the top charge, and maybe there's a guilty on the criminal negligent homicide, you're talking about the possibility of no jail time, maybe probation or something. And I think that's enough to send a plea out to the judge on behalf of Daniel Penny that jail time's not appropriate here because of how long and how hard the jury has gone after this case and trying to decide it.
Yep, well, we're into day 4 of deliberation. We will continue to watch.